Welcome back to the Jon Krawczynski Show, starring Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Suhan from TalkNorth.com. We appreciate you listening and or watching. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, and we are brought to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. We will also be doing a Minnesota Lynx segment during this show, sponsored by Wings Credit Union, and the Lynx had a phenomenal game on Sunday. I really look forward to talking about that. We're going to say goodbye to Chris Hine, my former colleague at the Star Tribune, who is leaving for a job in Philadelphia. We're going to get into a couple of basketball rumors and possibilities, but let's start today on the Jon Krawczynski Show talking about television rights, where you may be watching the Timberwolves games this season.
Yeah, Jim. So finally, the Timberwolves finally came out with their plan for this next season late last week. They are going to stream all of their local games, not the ones that are distributed on NBC Peacock or ABC ESPN or Prime. So the local games, the ones you're used to watching on Bally's, FanDuel, FSN, those are going to be streaming on DAZN. And so there's a couple of things that Wolves fans need to know about what this setup is going to look like. They're going to charge a monthly subscription on DAZN. They have not yet announced the price tag of that. And so we'll see exactly where they come out on it, because for Wolves fans who streamed from the FanDuel Sports thing last year, it was $20 a month, but you also had access to Twins content and Wild content and other things. This will be strictly Timberwolves for DAZN, and so we'll see exactly what the price point comes out to there. But the one really important thing to remember and to know if you're looking for the Wolves games next year is that this package is not going to be available on cable or satellite. You're going to have to just stream it on your smart TV, on your tablet, on your phone, anything like that. And so if you subscribe to Comcast like I do, if you subscribe to DirecTV, if you're any of those types of linear kind of options for your TV viewing, there is not going to be a DAZN channel that carries Timberwolves games. And so it will require a separate subscription to have and to put on, your smart TV or whatever device that you're going to watch. And so, it's a little bit more labor this year because the Twins have their own situation going, the Wild have their own situation going. And so I can definitely understand a sports viewer in the Twin Cities having subscriber fatigue, maybe even looking at price points and it all adding up and just thinking, man, this is a lot to ask. But this is going to be the setup going into next year. So they will roll out kind of all of the mechanisms for it fairly soon here, I believe, to get you ready to go for the season. And they will also announce the announcing team and all of those things as well. But a big change going forward for next season for Wolves fans who have kind of been wondering what was going to happen with the collapse of the regional sports network apparatus.
Yeah, it is sad for the average fan. I'm sure you get the emails as well as I always have, like when the Twins went to their own app. It's basically $100 for a full season of Twins games. It's not a crazy price for them to put on that. If you get, let's say you get 120 to 140, I don't even know how many games are on the app as opposed to other apps. But let's say it's 120 to 140 games. I mean, it's like less than $1 a game for 3 hours of entertainment. It's not that it's a ridiculous price. It's that it all adds up if you're a local sports fan who wants to follow all the teams. Do you have any idea what the price point might be for however many Wolves games would be available?
Yeah, so we kind of tried to get into the ballpark with CEO Matt Caldwell, and then we talked to a couple of executives from DAZN as well. And, Dane Moore brought up kind of that, hey, users paid $20 a month last year for FanDuel. Is it going to be in that ballpark? And what was told to us was they're still looking at it. It might be in that ballpark somewhere. One thing that was brought up, which I think is important to raise, is that 15 of the games are going to be free And so I think the Timberwolves are still looking at possibly partnering with over the air like they did with Care 11 last year for distribution of some of those games, but there will be 15 games on the DAZN app that are offered free, and that's more than what we're used to seeing in terms of, I think they had 4 or 5 games last year on Care 11 that were free over the air. And so there's those free games that will be designated once the schedule comes out. And then there were some allusions to kind of some promotional discounts. If you're a season ticket holder, you might get a discount on your subscription fee. And so I think, like, we'll have to see exactly where it comes out, but it seemed to me in talking to especially the executives from DAZN, and I think Matt Caldwell was cognizant and sympathetic toward this as well, that they know that they're asking a lot of these of the Timberwolves viewer, and so they're trying to make it as easy to access as possible. And we'll see. I mean, $20 a month is a lot of money for people in this economy, and so I'll be interested to see how they kind of lay out the available packages. Maybe you get a discount if you sign up for the whole season, or things like that, and see where it all comes out. Because you're right, Jim. I do think that the price is one thing for sure, but I do think that there is sort of an overwhelming feeling to being a sports fan these days where, man, I've got to subscribe to this. I've got to, put my data in on this. I've got to give my credit card to this. And now I have all of these, so many different options, and you just do get overwhelmed by it. And so I think the thinking behind partnering with DAZN is that there is a belief and a stated belief from the NBA next season that after this season, so 2028 or 2027-28 season, the NBA is going to take as many of the teams that are without their own specific deal locally under one roof, and try and distribute the games that way. And DAZN is kind of a leading contender to be the apparatus, the platform that is kind of aggregating all of these different teams. And so this is sort of, I think DAZN is with a few teams. The Knicks are another team that they are with. And this is sort of like an entry point for DAZN to get into kind of a larger kind of business within the league of doing these games. And so I think that there's advantages to that for the Timberwolves as well. There is an advantage to saying, like, hey, this is where all of our games are going to be. They're going to be on DAZN. Just if you have that app and you want to watch that game, that is not an exclusive rights national game. You just go there, and that's where it's going to be. So it's going to be arranged there. They're going to also have other Wolves content that's available in that app. But yeah, it's definitely going to be another thing that you're asking, another hoop that you're asking fans to jump through. And so I think that how they make it as accessible as possible, I think, is going to be key, because you're just going to lose some fans who don't want to leave cable, who don't want to leave satellite, and who are just simply don't want to sign up for another service. And it'll take some doing and some selling for the Wolves to get as many fans on board as possible. But I think the marketing of it is that DAZN has done soccer, has done boxing, has done some NFL, has done a few other things across the world, actually, in a global manner. And so they believe that they are better set up to stream live sports than maybe the FanDuel app or even maybe League Pass. We've all had kind of frustrations with how those things work. And so we'll see how it all performs. But you just do kind of feel for fans who are like, okay, here's another thing I got to do just so I can watch the games. But that's the world we live in right now. I mean, everything is subscription. Everything is kind of splintering away from kind of the traditional way of doing things, and it's trying to be reinvented. And so there's going to be some pain points there for fans as they get on board with this.
Reminder, everything at talknorth.com is free. You can watch this show on YouTube and follow the Jon Krawczynski Show on Instagram and Facebook so you see each episode as it's released. Check out all the other great shows at talknorth.com. Russo, LaPanta, Mark Rosen had John Randall on his show recently, which is great. Weathering Life with Bell Jensen and Lee Bosvik has been a big hit. Don Mitchell's show, Alec Lewis's show, the Viking Update Show sometimes includes Alec Lewis and will again this week. Jeff Diamond's show, just have a lot of good stuff. Check it out. Kevin Gorg, et cetera, et cetera. John, quickly tell us about your next live show at Forgotten Star Brewery.
August 16th, 5 p.m. at Forgotten Star Brewery in Fridley. It's really easy to get to. I know that people might think, oh, Fridley, where am I going? But it's actually really accessible. The great thing about it as well is it's a very big room that we'll have for the show. Really easy to park as well. Tons of parking right around there. There's a food truck there. Great beer. We'll have some specials going on. We'll have some giveaways, and we'll have Tim Connelly to kind of participate in a little discussion about this offseason, about this summer, about how things have gone, about LaMelo Ball, about looking forward to next season as well. And so we will go in depth with Tim Connelly on all the ins and outs of the Timberwolves roster, on what can be expected going forward. Again, as you know, if you've come to a live show at Head Flyer before, we'll have some great giveaways. We'll do some Q&A with the audience, some real interactive stuff going on. We might have some other Timberwolves folks that are around and might jump up and participate a little bit if we can twist their arm. So we'll see about that. But it should be a great conversation and a great new setup at Forgotten Star. So August 16th, 5 p.m., Tim Connelly, show up, and let's ring in the new venue that we have in style with the Jon Krawczynski Show and Talk North. August 16th, 5 p.m. at Forgotten Star Brewery.
Let's get to Jonathan Kuminga, Chris Hine. I have a couple other basketball questions about the Wolves we haven't really gotten into. We also have a Twitter question at the end of the show. Right now, we want to remind you we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. If you're heading to the state fair between eating the cheese curds and delicious cookies, stop by the Connecticut Water Treatment booth in the Home Improvement Building. We'll show you how you can enjoy worry-free Connecticut water in your home every day. Can't make the fair? No worries. As your independent authorized dealer, we'll bring the fair treatment to you. Schedule your free in-home water test at aquariushomeservices.com.
And here's John for Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Thanks also to Great Clips.
If you've got kids, you know back to school season is a lot. Supply lists, shoe shopping, juggling all the schedules. It's not exactly a magical time of year. The Great Clips app, though, that really does work like magic. With just a few taps, you can find a salon nearby, see the wait time, and check in when it works for you. You can even get a message when it's your turn so you know when to pack up the kids and head over. Oh, and the savings? That's where the real magic happens. So when it's time for back-to-school haircuts, download the Great Clips app. It may not take care of all of your back-to-school to-dos, but it'll definitely make some of that stress disappear. Great Clips, it's going to be great.
Thanks to all of our sponsors. Sometimes we get complaints because we have a lot of ads on our shows. That's why these shows are free. It's just that simple. We didn't want to go to subscription base. I never wanted to have a subscription base for this network. So that's a trade-off. And the cool thing is we've met a lot of great people with the companies we've worked with. They've been very supportive. They help us grow the network. So that's the way this all works. So let's get to our Lynx segment sponsored by Wings Credit Union. That was spectacular basketball on Sunday. And I've always been a big fan of the WNBA. I really loved covering the championship Lynx teams. I always thought that the league was underrated in terms of the concentration of talent and the great players, but we've never seen anything like this. I mean, the level of offensive basketball being played right now is stunning.
It's great, and I think a game like that one yesterday is so important, Jim, because, I mean, you and I both know that sometimes following this league from the outside is difficult because there are so many discussions around the players and the league that are not basketball related. Even, we have drama in the NBA and things like that, but I don't think there's anything quite like what's going on with the WNBA right now and what's been going on a lot. But when you just sit down and turn on the TV and watch Lynx versus Fever, then you see why there's so much interest, because it is really high level. It's ultra competitive. It is highlight driven. You have big stars on both sides going at each other. Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, Olivia Miles, Nafisa Collier, all these just great players. And the quality of play is at the best it's ever been. And so when you see the Lynx able to bring a team that has been playing very, very well in the Fever into their home court, have a full house, and just the intensity of the environment for a regular season game, it's just so fun to watch. And let's just look at it and just focus on the basketball of it. And man, you can have a really good time watching these players. And Olivia Miles just continues to be a star of all stars and really make a run at that MVP. But I mean, Kelsey Mitchell with 37 points, it was fantastic going back and forth, and you never knew that the game was over until the end, and that's what you want. And I think that's what this league is becoming, is just a really fun league to watch because of all of the talent and the way that it's coming together. It's been great.
When Olivia Miles was first mentioned as an MVP candidate, I thought that was a cool story, but I didn't really buy that she would have a chance to win it, just because of what A'ja Wilson always does. The fact that Nafisa Collier would eventually come back and probably establish herself as the best player on the team. Now I'm starting to think that Olivia Miles is the front runner, or deserves to be the front runner. She's the best player on by far the best team. Nafisa is a great player who's going to get back to her, hit her stride again, but she hasn't yet for obvious reasons. She's rusty and she's dealing with 2 surgically repaired ankles. Olivia Miles is dominating the league.
I saw someone mention this yesterday, and I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't my original thought. But when you think about the impact that she has made as a rookie, it feels like Randy Moss. It feels like a team that entered the season where you didn't really have incredibly high expectations, given all of the players the Lynx lost, given Nafisa's injury, given Dorka US's injury. You said, all right, it's going to be a fine season. And then out of nowhere, Olivia Miles has just kind of taken this whole thing up 7 levels with the way that she has played. And that's what Moss did back with the Vikings in 98. It's it was a good team, it was an intriguing team, but they had kind of been stagnant, and they needed an injection of adrenaline, and Moss did that. And Olivia, with the way that she plays, with her shot making, with the way that she connects the entire team, with her passing, I believe that she definitely deserves to be right up there. Of course, people will say A'ja Wilson, and I think A'ja Wilson is probably the best player in the league. But when you look at what Olivia Miles has meant to this team, to the best team in the league, and the way that she has, not single-handedly, because Kayla McBride has been amazing, Courtney Williams has been amazing. They've had just Coffee has been incredible, as an unsung hero. They've had a lot of great contributions, but the reason that this team is sitting in first place and has been there for most of the year is that this rookie point guard has come onto the scene like few players we have seen before, with just the way that she is dominating. And so I do believe that, yes, she should be, if she's not the front runner, she should be top 2 right now. I think ESPN put a graphic up yesterday without her in the top 4, and that's just ridiculous. There's no chance she's not a top 2, 3 candidate, and I think that she has a very good chance and a very good case to win the whole damn thing.
Yes, and I'm usually the person who tries not to be a homer and tries not to say, hey, it's we have to fight for the local person. But I just think the way she's played has just made this obvious. Again, best player, most transformative player on by far the best team, helping them overcome Nafisa's injury and a roster that we weren't blown away by entering the season. It's been phenomenal. So anyway, thank you to Wings Credit Union for sponsoring our Lynx segment.
For the true Minnesota Lynx fan, this is definitely worth checking out. Wings Credit Union, the official credit union partner of the Minnesota Lynx and Timberwolves, now has a Lynx-branded debit card that comes with some great fan perks. Open any Wings checking account, choose the Lynx debit card, and every time you use it, you'll have a chance to win tickets to a Lynx home game or autographed merchandise. You can also score discounts on concessions at Target Center and get access to exclusive ticket offers throughout the season. So if you're looking for an easy way to show your Lynx pride every day, this is it. Upgrade your banking game, support Minnesota Hoops, and head to wingscu.com/Lynx to open your account today. Wings Credit Union is insured by NCUA, membership is required, account requires an associated Wings Lynx debit card.
We're going to get to Jonathan Kuminga in our last segment. Right now, let's say goodbye to Chris Hine. Hine, just a really good guy, great teammate, excellent writer, just a good person. You spent even more time with him than I did by the nature of the beat. But I loved having him on our staff. I loved his perspective. So we're going to miss you, Chris. Chris is going to Philadelphia Inquirer to cover the 76ers. It was obvious that, wherever LeBron was going to go, Chris Hine is going to be there.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Congrats to Chris. He's from that area of Pennsylvania. I think he grew up 2 hours from Philadelphia, so he's kind of going home as well. So it's good for him to get that opportunity. He spent 8 years on the beat. This has been, we talked last year about the continuity the Wolves have had on the roster. We've had a lot of continuity on the beat with myself and Dane and Chris and Britt Robson and Jace Frederick and, the guys at Canis Hoopus and kind of, Andrew Dukowitz has come along and has been there for a few years now. And so we've got, a really good crew of guys who all get along, and so it'll be different not having Chris around. And I really enjoyed watching Chris grow into the job because he came to the Star Tribune as an analytics reporter, and then when Jerry Zagota left the beat, he kind of got maybe like encouraged strongly to go over to the Wolves unwittingly, and it was. As a veteran of the beat, he came in the first season with Jimmy Butler, with all the Jimmy Butler drama, and I was like, "Hey, well, welcome to the job, big boy," and just kind of he had to jump right in, and so, but like over the years, he did really find a very nice groove, like found his voice on the beat. He wrote the Ant book. He did a lot of great work with the Strib, but most importantly, he was just a really cool, good guy to have around. And like, that's what you all want on this, long season, is to have guys you share the locker room with, that you're friends with, that are easy to be around. And Chris certainly is one of those guys. So, I'm happy for him that he gets this opportunity to go cover a very, very good team for a really good paper that is still really investing in sports, which is a rarity these days. And so he's going to get a good chance there. He's going to be closer to home. But it won't be the same without him here. And, we'll see what happens, in his wake, but he will be missed. And it was just a great time these last 8 years having him on the beat and sharing laughs and kind of helping each other with questions in the press conferences and all those things. So all the best to Chris. It's been a really good run here in Minnesota for him.
Yeah, and I still root for the Star Tribune. I still read the Star Tribune, as I hate that he's leaving, but I'm happy for him. So congratulations to Chris. Let's get to Jonathan Kuminga, and I have a question about Dante DiVincenzo. We'll have a Twitter question at the end of the show. First, let's thank TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. That's all you really need to know. Of course, for us, TSR Injury Law was one of the sponsors that jumped up and became one of our original sponsors, if not the original sponsor, helped us grow the show. Steve Terry's been great. His partners have been great. And I love the fact that it's a company that helps people. If you're injured, you call 612-TSR-TIME. You will deal with a lawyer. They will help you. They will not charge you unless they win your case, and they win lots of cases. So for a higher level of representation, call 612-TSR-TIME. Now here's John for True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com to set up a free consultation. I've been going on more than 2 years now with LASIK surgery from True Vision. It has been a life changer for me. It can be a life changer for you. They take such great care of you from the start of the process through it all the way to the end. Dr. Chu in the operating room is as soothing and as calm a personality as you could ever hope for when you're having a procedure like that. And the thing that surprised me the most about the whole thing is that the actual procedure is over in literally minutes. You're in there, they get you done, and you're out of there. And then by, a few hours later, after some eye drops and a little bit of recovery, you're feeling great and seeing clearly. So go to truevision.com, set up your free consultation, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you, and get on with living your life with True Vision.
sglambchops.com sponsors the Twitter question at the end of every show. What's going on with our friends over there?
sglambchops.com is the place to go for all of the great casual wear that you can find: hoodies, sweatpants, shirts, shorts, hats, everything at sglambchops.com. Use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off whatever you get there. Also, if you come to Forgotten Star on August 16th at 5 p.m. for our live show, Lamb Chops will be there with some special swag that has been designed specifically for our show, specifically for Forgotten Star. So there'll be some really cool collaborations that you can get there as well. But go to sglambchops.com. Again, promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you get at Lamb Chops.
So, Jonathan Kuminga, that's the latest rumor. What do you think of it?
Yeah, there was a report from my friend Mike Scotto at Hoops Hype last week that the Wolves have emerged as a team that has expressed interest in Jonathan Kuminga. What I can say to that is very much similar to a lot of the scenarios out there with many free agents over the years. When someone is available, especially at a position of need, yes, the Wolves are interested in trying to get involved in the sweepstakes there. What is going to be very difficult for them in this scenario is that they only have a minimum offer to extend to Jonathan Kuminga. And one of the things that has been made clear by Kuminga's camp to anyone that is expressing interest in him is that he wants a good chunk of money. And I think that started over $20 million per year. And I think that's dropped a little bit just given the lack of action on the market right now. But it's hard for me to see a scenario where the Wolves get involved at anything over the minimum. I just don't see any really avenues for them to get involved that way. But what they have said, what Chris Finch told me in Las Vegas in terms of that power forward position, provided that LeBron was not coming, was that what they could offer is opportunity. And so if Jonathan Kuminga does not like whatever other offers are out there available to him right now, the Timberwolves will be waiting and ready to say, hey, we have an opening at power forward. You can come in and start right away. You can, get tons of minutes with LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to kind of work off of their gravity and put up good numbers on a very good team. And maybe that repairs your value and you can go back into the market next year and get a longer term deal with the money you're really looking for. Obviously, that would be a big kind of concession for Jonathan Kuminga. But at this point, if you look around the league, there's not a lot of places for him to go for significant amounts of money. And so I do think that the Wolves are trying to get into that discussion. But it is it's a tough sell just given what their roster situation is, but they can offer something that a lot of other teams cannot. And that is a featured starting role on a team that is expected to be good and to win a lot of games. And that in the long run could help Jonathan Kuminga quite a bit. And Kuminga obviously also, Jim, would help the Wolves quite a bit in terms of giving them another big body up front to help with athleticism, to help with rebounding, to help with rim attacks. When you're facing a bigger team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Kuminga can hold up defensively against those guys, maybe a little bit better than some of their other small ball options. And so the Wolves could really use Jonathan Kuminga. I think Jonathan Kuminga could really use the Timberwolves in terms of that opportunity. It's just a matter of there is a huge gulf between what he expected to make next season and what the Wolves can pay him. And so I think that there will have to be a lot of discussion, thought, soul searching on Jonathan Kuminga's part about what he truly wants and what he can get next season for a pathway to open for the Timberwolves to really have a chance at Kuminga.
If they get Kuminga, he just plugs in as a starter at power forward? Or
I think so, Jim. I do. I would imagine that if you're having these discussions with Jonathan Kuminga and you're trying to convince him to come to Minnesota, I would imagine you'd have to dangle that as a real thing. I mean, do you make a firm promise that you're going to be the starter? Maybe you want to be a little bit careful with that. But when you look at, the other options, and we've talked about Terrence Shannon Jr., we've talked about Jalen Clark, we've talked about Trey Lyles, like all of those, I think, are viable options in different looks. But certainly Kuminga is a more prototypical frame and body style for a power forward at the NBA level. Like I do think that with especially with Clark and Shannon, it's a more unconventional look. I think the Timberwolves would be comfortable doing it, but there would have to be a little more creativity involved in using those looks. With Kuminga, it's just a much more seamless fit from a just style-wise. Now, the adjustments that I think would have to be made is, like, I would imagine that he would come here expecting a number of shots, expecting a level of involvement in the offense to get him the statistics that he's going to need to repair that value and to go out into the open market next summer and get a bigger deal. So how that would all work with, like, the shots that Ant needs and LaMelo needs and Jaden McDaniels needs and, kind of the involvement that Rudy needs, that would be, I think, a conversation and maybe a bigger, I think, obstacle or hurdle to get over than just whether he starts or not. But it is tantalizing to think about because he is a big, strong dude at a position where they need another big, strong dude, or where they really could use that. And so I'm sure that in any conversations with the Kuminga camp, if they're not outwardly promising a starting job, they're saying, look, you're going to play high 20s, 30s minutes a night, in some kind of role for us. And so that should be something in the back of his mind, or maybe at the front of his mind, as he considers his options that are available to him right now, which I don't know how many options he truly does have at this point, to be honest with you.
Let's get to the Twitter question that we wrap up every show with, sponsored by sglamshops.com. Future topics, I do want to talk about what Dante DiVincenzo's role could be when he does come back and what the timetable for that is. I want to talk about Finch's staff. I also, I was asked this in one of my, interviews after I retired from the Star Tribune, what they basically, I think Janice Shortle from Carol 11 was asking me, like, what team did I think had it kind of going on right now? And I thought about it, and immediately I said, well, if you go to Target Center, whether it's to watch the Lynx or the Wolves, you're going to be watching a really good basketball organization with championship aspirations pretty much year round. I want to get your thoughts on that, how the Wolves and Lynx compare to other organizations in town. But for today, let's get to our Twitter question, sponsored by sglamchops.com.
Yeah, so this one comes from Kevin, KMO25 Lean, it looks like, Lien. Who is the guy on the roster you see taking the biggest leap forward this year in terms of on-court production? Clark, Beringer, TSJ? Does McDaniels leap to 20 points per game? It's a really good question right now. I think there's two ways to answer that. I look in terms of, like, just role, playing time. Clearly, Beringer has the chance to take an enormous step forward. He's going to go from not playing at all, essentially last year, or just in garbage time minutes, to being the backup center. And so there's going to be 18, 20, 22 minutes a night, depending on how much you want to play Rudy Gobert at this age, if you want to save him a little bit for the playoffs, things like that. There's going to be a real role for Johan Berenger to play this year, and there is no other option. So it's going to be wide open for Johan to come in here to play a significant role for this team. And so in that respect, I think that Berenger is the answer from just a role change perspective. We can look at also McDaniels in terms of it. Let's assume or say that Jonathan Kuminga is not coming here, and that they start the season with McDaniels at the 3 and then Clark, Shannon, Lyles kind of platoon at the 4. It does open up a significant higher involvement in the offense for Jaden McDaniels. And so I do think that he could go to 19, 20 points a game as a real third option, but almost as like a 2B, because if you think LaMelo Ball's coming in here and maybe, kind of being a little bit more of a facilitator with Ant and with Jaden's going to be a big benefit of that. And so I think from a statistics and numbers perspective, Jaden has the chance to be like the breakout leap year candidate in that way. And we saw that in the playoffs last season with his performance against Denver, with just the way that he really kind of increased his role when Ant got hurt. Now without Julius here to take up those shots, without Naz here to take up those shots, a lot of those shots are going to be funneled to Jaden. I think that's a very good thing. The final person that I am watching is Jalen Clark. And, you always got to be careful with these summer league or summer workout videos that every player puts out there. But watching Jalen Clark shoot 3-pointers this summer, his shooting stroke looks a lot smoother. It looks a lot more free and easy. And if he can become a super reliable corner 3-point shooter to go with his defense, to go with his cutting, then he has a chance to really kind of become a rotation player. That's a long-winded answer, but I think there are different ways to answer it. And so I wanted to make sure that I kind of hit on 3 different options there, because I do think that there is real reason to see several of these guys take big steps forward. They're all young. They're all kind of still kind of approaching their prime, or maybe Jaden's getting to his prime pretty closely here. And so there's a lot of room for improvement and development. This is a coaching staff that has shown it can help its players get big time better, summer over summer. And so I do think that, you will see several of these guys really make big steps forward. And if all that happens, the Wolves are looking pretty good.
Good stuff, John. I appreciate it. Thanks for our Twitter question. Thanks to all of our sponsors, all of our viewers, all of our listeners. We really do appreciate you. Thanks for sticking with us. Enjoy the Forgotten Star Brewery show. That should be a blast. Thanks to John for getting Tim Connelly lined up for that. And we will talk to you again next week.